Recording in progress.
All right. Good afternoon and welcome to the Pinal County Community College District Governing Board meeting. In observance of the current Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidelines and Arizona Governor Douglas Ducey's Executive Order 2020-36 regarding social distancing, this meeting is being held virtually. This WebEx is being hosted by Avid Consulting, an IT partner of Central Arizona College. Thank you, Avid. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge those from Central Arizona College in attendance. I am Dan Miller, Governing Board President, David Waldron, Governing Board Vice President and Secretary, Gladys Christensen, Board Member, Rick Gibson, Board Member, David Ordeon, Board Member, Jackie Ellett, Central Arizona College President, Chris Wadka, Vice President of Business Affairs, Mary Lou Hernandez, Executive Assistant to the President and Governing Board. Any others? No. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order, June 16th, 2020, Governing Board meeting. First item on the agenda is consideration of the consent agenda. All the following matters are part of the consent agenda and are to be approved by one motion. There will be no specific discussion of these items. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda by any governing board member. Are there any items that need to be removed? Okay, hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Dave.
I move that the consent agenda be accepted as presented.
All right, I have a motion. I have a second.
I second that motion.
Here, Glass, the motion. Is that true, Mary Lou? Yes, okay, I see nods. All right, any general discussion? All right, Mary Lou, are you capable of doing a roll call, or shall I do that? All right, I'm going to conduct the roll call vote, and this is just to ensure that everybody is capable. We can hear them through this medium. So roll call vote, Board Member Waldron.
Yes.
Board Member Christensen.
Yes.
Board Member Gibson.
Yes.
Board Member Ordeon.
Yes.
All right, and I also vote yay. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Next item. Yes, did I hear something? Next item is possible action on the administrative contract.
Mr. Chairman, this is Rick Gibson. I have a motion.
You have a motion. Let's hear a motion, Rick.
I move that we compliment Dr. Jackie Elliott for her leadership during this difficult time, and that we extend her contract through June 30th, 2025.
Okay, motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
This is Dave. I second it.
David Waldron seconding the motion. So acknowledged. Any discussion? So I heard you right, Rick. It's till 2025, June 30, 2025. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Hearing no further discussion, we'll take a roll call again. Board Member Waldron.
Yes.
Board Member Christensen.
Yes.
Board Member Gibson.
Yes.
Board Member Ordeon.
Yes.
And Dan Miller will also say yay to that. Okay, motion passes unanimously. We have two. Item 4 is report from the college president, district update, Dr. Jackie Elliott.
Thank you, President Miller. Good afternoon, board members and any guests that we have joining us today. It is my pleasure to give you a brief update from the district. We were in receipt. The team at CAC quickly responded to the federal government's grant request for proposals, and we were successful in securing the $1.5 million in CARES dollars that went directly to students. Majority of that has been distributed already directly to our students. We also received a third CARES dollar grant of $1.5 million that is going to the college to reimburse ourselves for overtime, technology that we had to invest in to be able to ensure that student learning continued. And then we recently applied for another round of CARES dollars that were set aside for Hispanic serving institutions, which CAC is. And this was $189,000 that we received that will go to instruction, helping do training for faculty on virtual instruction. So we were really pleased that we were able to get on that very quickly and get those funds for our students. The other thing that has been occupying a lot of our time in the district is preparing a return to campus plan. We have 2 documents ready to be viewed by cabinet later this week. The first is a return to campus 4-phase plan that we will put into place when we had 14 days in Pinal County of leveling off or decreasing numbers of positive COVID cases. So we'll have that ready to deploy very quickly. The 4-phase plan includes a pilot phase, which will be just a few select people that will go to campus and look at the signage, make sure we have 6 feet apart signage, and that we are just designating which exits are entering exits and which ones will be the exits. That group will probably be me, the VPs, and a few select directors. Will pilot test for a week. Phase 2 involves a few more frontline people and student-facing individuals to come and test the 6 feet apart, the spacing, signage, CDC guidelines for another week, perhaps 2 weeks, just so that we are prepared. The third phase would then open it up to students, where students can come to campus, they can register, they can use the computer labs, the libraries, those types of services. And then the 4th phase would be all employees returning to campus. And obviously there's a lot more details in both of those in that document. The second document that we've been spending time on is the guidelines that we'll put forth for all employees and for students, such as wearing face coverings when 6 feet apart is not possible. Again, it's probably a 15 to 12 page document that we will circulate and also put on our website. So it's unfortunate, but those things do take a lot of time and attention, because there are things that you don't necessarily think about until you're preparing a document of this nature. So those are kind of the most important key things that we're focused on. We are working on being prepared for all of fall classes where applicable to be virtual, and we're using the term virtual instead of online because this is the type of format that we use with students. It's called Blackboard Collaborate, much like this WebEx. So students are really, there's a face-to-face element, but that they get to work with their faculty. We will continue to provide all of our student services throughout the fall in both face-to-face and virtual formats, so students have the opportunity to choose how they want to interact with the college for their own safety and concern. And so that's kind of the district update. I'm happy to entertain any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Dave. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Dave.
Jackie, have you heard any information from the governor's office or whatever regarding the special session on the liability issue and how they might address that?
The last I heard is that they were going to hold a special session in June, and earlier this week I got an email saying that may not happen. So if I hear anything, I'll let you know. But right now, I'm not sure if the governor's going to reconvene them.
Okay, thank you.
Great question, Dave. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, this is Rick Gibson.
Yes, Rick.
Dr. Elliott, I think everybody in the community throughout the district is concerned about safety as we come together. Some people, as you mentioned, want to come together in a face-to-face, and some people prefer to do it online. What are your thoughts, and how is the district arranging to protect faculty and staff as they do their duties?
We will do in situations where there's close proximity, we'll do staggered work schedules. Faculty, if they're teaching all virtually, we will request that they do that from home and that they host virtual office hours. We also will be looking at if anybody is 65 or older or has health concerns, we'll work with them so that they're able to continue to work remotely until the threat of the coronavirus is decreased. A lot of it will be on an individual basis. So like, for example, in Mary Lou and I's office, we can maintain 6 feet apart. We have enough space that we can do that. But in other instances, like in the business and finance area, we're going to have to do staggered work schedules to be able to accommodate that and employees. And of course, if an employee has a concern, we certainly will have their supervisor work with them because their health and safety is very important. We are going to have plexiglass barriers put up in areas where students interact with staff, especially in registration and financial aid. So we're taking all those precautions, preparing for them. Obviously, it takes time because you don't know that you need to prepare for this. We're working on our signage. I shared with you that we're going to approach this from the CAC Cares with all of our signage and how we will communicate and ensure everybody's safety, because that's the most important part.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thanks, Rick. Okay, I just had a couple questions about the public areas and the residence hall. I know you probably have steps or line items in the plan for that, but currently, are there any students left in the residence hall?
I believe we still have 2 students that were unable to travel home. We do plan to reopen the residence halls in the fall. Students, our preference would be do single rooms, but if students sign a waiver and want to room with, say, for instance, a teammate, because we do know that those in athletics are going to be in close proximity to each other anyway, in particular with sports, so that they can have a double occupancy if they want. We are making concessions to be able to quarantine students and others if we need to. And so that is underway in the planning. As far as public spaces, we will be doing much like what you see out in public now, 6 feet apart, signage on the floors, decals, those type of things. Also, our food service provider will not be doing a salad bar. They won't have any out open food. Everything will kind of be boxed and ready to go. And so all those preparations are in place as well, or being planned for.
Okay, great. You had mentioned sports already. I would imagine that we're being aligned with the collegiate sports as a separate policy. Is that correct?
Yes, we're following the NJCAA guidelines. So whatever the NJCAA says we're allowed to do, which is the National Junior College Athletic Association, we will follow those guidelines. And they've actually done a really good job of putting out guidelines, what sports they're going to allow, how many competitions and when, and also protocols and safeties that need to be put in place to ensure student athlete safety.
Okay, and to be following guidance in the future on Penn Center and how to be utilized for like performances and things.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, very good. Board members, any other questions? All right, thank you, Jackie. Very informative.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yes, Rick, go ahead.
This is Rick again. I just would like to compliment our leadership team and all of the members of the college for coming together and making a plan that's going, to me, it looks like it's going to work. And I just understand the challenges and the frustrations that must have been worked and dealt with to bring to pass these kinds of plans. But I'm very impressed with our plan for outreach and that we're going to be able to move forward in a safe manner. And I want to just express my appreciation for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree, Rick. Jackie summed it up pretty well, but there's a volumes and volumes behind the words that she spoke to us just today, and definitely echo your sentiment in appreciating all the work that goes on behind the scenes. So, Jackie, to you and your staff, we salute you. Okay. Any other questions on this item? Item 4.1. Okay, next item is Business Affairs Report, 5.1 Monthly Budget Report, and 5.2 Board Bids. They're both in your packets, board packets. Are there any questions on either one of these items for Chris Waka? Okay, any, good afternoon, Chris. Didn't recognize you earlier, but do you have any clarifying or amplifying comments on these two items?
Thank you, and good afternoon, Mr. Chair and governing board members, Madam President, and any guests and colleagues that might be present this afternoon. The budget report is for the month of April, an April to April comparison, which is 10/12 of the fiscal year, with a percentage point difference from a year ago. Also, there are a handful of bids, nothing out of the ordinary. Be happy to answer any questions on either the budget or the bids that are presented.
Okay, I'll open it up to the board again, since we are in this delay with this medium. Any questions for Chris? Rick Gibson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity. Mr. Waka, we appreciate your leadership as we're going through these difficult times. I know that trying to keep the dollars together in the right categories and making sure that all of these changes that are being made is not really part of the budget. How comfortable are we at this time that we are going to be able to address the issues of COVID-19 and the related types of issues and stay within budget? Are you comfortable with that? Do we have enough flexibility, or do we have some challenges?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I believe we do have a lot of flexibility. As the president mentioned earlier, we did receive CARES $2. Well, we saw down upon them at approximately $0.5 million. We've done one draw already where we are reimbursing ourselves for any types of COVID-related expenses, whether they're salary expenses, whether they're IT expenses, or anything of that nature. So that grant runs through the May of next year that we're able to reimburse ourselves. We're also waiting, hopefully, for the legislators, when they get back in session, to potentially provide us with some expenditure relief for the expenditure limitation. There's a lot of talk on that from all the school districts as well as the community colleges. So we're hoping to have some flexibility there as well. So at this point, I am comfortable that things are progressing along. No major concerns. Hopefully, we'll get some questions answered in the near future.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Good question, Rick. I want to step out just a second for clarification. And technically, Gladys Christensen is not listed on the participants. She's calling in with Michael. Is that correct? That's more from Alina, I think.
Hi, this is Barry with Avid Consulting, and yes, I have Gladys conferenced in with us.
Okay, so what name is she under? Is it Barry? Did you call her Barry?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. I apologize. I just want to make sure that we're completely transparent on how we're represented in this meeting.
It's
right.
one of the call-in numbers, so it wouldn't show his name. Oh, it does show his name right here. There it is.
Yes.
Very
Okay.
okay.
All right. Great. Thank you. All right. So looks like Chris has an encore. Item number 6 is a monitoring report. Outcome number 7. Please proceed, Chris.
Okay, thank you, sir. Outcome number 7 has to deal with the infrastructure, ensuring a physical and technological infrastructure that support changes in learning and working environment. There are 2 points here. 7.1, satisfaction with facilities, and 7.2 is deferred maintenance. In terms of satisfaction with facilities, you'll see that we're inching up towards our target. Our target was established at about 70% for satisfaction with facilities. We've ebbed and flowed from anywhere from 60 to 67% over the last 4 years. The latest data available from the Great Colleges to Workforce Survey shows us at about approximately 65%. 7.2 are deferred maintenance. The goal that we have there is a targeted 25% that was established during the new CAC strategic plan. Our deferred maintenance budget has been inching up over the last 4 years. It was down to about 13% back in 16-17. We're at about 18% of our budget for deferred maintenance currently. In terms of deferred maintenance, you'll see listed, we broke it down by campus. There are a number of key recent improvements since last year. I'd be happy to answer if there's any questions on any of them. They're listed by campus. And we also have listed the planned improvements, meaning improvements coming up in the future, next year, and perhaps beyond. And some of those are to continue to solicit feedback from employees regarding potential areas for improvement in our facilities. We always continue to redevelopment of our spaces on each campus. As you all know, we have a new Lucid Training Center that's coming in the near future. And somewhere down the line here shortly, we would like to demolish the quads that have been offline now for a year, among some other things. So be happy to answer any questions on any of these recent improvements or planned improvements for the future.
All right, thank you, Chris. Very nice. Any questions from the colleagues? No questions? I just have one regarding COVID. Are there any, how is this impacting maintenance, whether increased for like filter changes or decreased because you can't get to things? Can you tell us a little bit about how COVID has affected the maintenance?
Sure thing. Being that, most people are not on campus currently, maintenance is working anywhere from 2 to 3 days a week on each campus, maintaining the facility. So not only the current landscaping, but also everything else, the regular maintenance and upkeep with the changing of filters and water filtration and things of that nature. So the campus has been pretty inactive, but facilities has been on staff here the entire time. So they're continuing to do their work as if it was normal operations.
Great. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, this is Rick.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Rick.
Thank you. Mr. Waka, as we challenges of COVID-19
I can't talk on this.
and the future possibilities of people coming back on campus, what kinds of challenges do you envision from your standpoint that we will need to face looking forward going into the future?
Well, I think the major challenges are pretty well addressed, as the president mentioned, with our back to campus guidelines and phase approach. We have purchased and have been purchasing over the last couple of months the PPE equipment that is going to be necessary for not only staff but students. We're working up on where the exact signage should go for social distancing. We're working up the plexiglass in areas of registration, cashiering, and amongst other areas. We're working with our food service vendor and our bookstore vendor on what is needed in terms of making the cafeteria and the bookstores safe and accessible to everyone as well. And amongst that, Ernesto's crew is continually disinfecting areas. For some people are working on campus for one nature or another, and they will be prepared to wipe down and clean and disinfect all of the areas once our phased-in approach starts.
Thank you. I just was pondering everything that you were saying. I guess my next question is, and I don't know who is the best person to answer, whether it's Dr. Elliott or yourself. Can students this fall, for example, expect to see a full range of activities? For example, our athletics or other types of community type involvement that we've done in the past. Are those going to be able to continue, or are we going to have to set those aside for a time period? Like I say, I don't know who answered that question.
I'll take that question. We are planning, athletics again will follow the NJCAA. It may be we may actually say no spectators. And have the students just participate in the athletic sport. As far as other campus activities, Kim David has done an excellent job of continuing activities throughout the summer and the spring that were virtual that students will be able to do. I think what activities will look like going forward will probably be as robust as possible, following what we can with social distancing until, to be honest, until there's a vaccine. I think that will be our norm. And once a vaccine's in place and there's other health measures that can help prevent the spread of coronavirus, student activities will look probably different moving forward. I think college and university campuses from this time forward will look extremely different. I can't not open my email every day and read something from higher ed or community college daily about the future of higher ed and what it will look like. But I think we will have student engagement opportunities that enable engagement, but allow for social distancing. And that kind of will be our parameters until they're no longer our parameters. So that's not a very good answer, but it's the best I can give you at this point.
Well, it's Mr. Chairman, Dr. Elliott, Mr. Walk. I think from what you're telling me that I'm greatly confident that we are going to have going forward the best possible product for our students and for the communities. And Mr. President, I'd like to just express my compliments to both of them and through the entire team for the thought and the process that's going forward. I think we're going to be safe from what I'm hearing and what I'm feeling, and that gives me great comfort. Thank you so much.
Good comments. Thank you, Rick. Good questions. Any other comments or questions from the rest of the board? Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Gladys.
I have a question.
Yes, proceed, please. Go ahead, Gladys.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I could not hear again. It sometimes cuts out entirely. Anyway, I was wondering, since there is not any activity actually on campus as far as students are concerned, has there been anything about the protests that are nationwide by email or anything like that?
No, I haven't experienced anything like that. I don't know if the chief has reported anything to Chris. Nothing's been reported to me. We have been really proactive at the college, and I did send out a message to the college community last week about diversity and inclusion, and the social and behavioral sciences division have been hosting weekly conversations where people can call in and talk. So I think that's been really helpful in mitigating any of those kind of situations.
I'll just add, there was no occurrences on campus. The city of Casa Grande, a couple of weeks ago, there was a march, kind of a protest that went down Florence Avenue, and the chief of police had a few officers out at our Casa Grande Center as that march took place right on that going by our facility. Nothing occurred. It was a peaceful protest, and that was the only one that was documented.
It's sort of been connected with college. So.
Correct.
Thank you.
Good. Good questions, guys. Thank you. Any other comments or questions before we adjourn? Okay, I'm not seeing any other activity. I think we've concluded the business for this meeting. Our next meeting is August 18th, 2020. To to be determined where and when and how. So thank you for your time this afternoon. This concludes the meeting. We are adjourned.